Okay, cool. So, welcome to the Sean Kenny podcast slash Tuesday Q&A. Today we're going to go over snacking as a topic because it's a question again. So, for anyone who doesn't usually listen to this, or you've come across it on YouTube or Spotify, this is pretty much my recorded coaching sessions where I go over any questions that anyone has from the coaching group, any commonly asked questions that I get on the gym floor, or just things that I get in the check-ins, so things that people struggle with. Um, and what I do is I go over it in this type of format, so then I can spend a little bit more time focusing on a topic rather than it being like a 5 minute conversation. People forgetting it's a place to come back to and refer to. So we go over different topics every single week, depending on what people are struggling with. And again, I think the whole point is that it's real feedback from real people, real problems, and real solutions, right? So many times, especially as like coaches and stuff, we create things off the top of our head, or we see a topic on Instagram or whatever, and then we start creating more and more topics around that. But it's just like, hold on, there's like millions of solutions to those same topics, and we're just recreating for views. Whereas these are problems that are coming up on a daily basis, and I'm just going off the feedback that I get. So, and again, it's allowing me to spend a little bit more time on a topic, and then something that people can always come back to. So today's topic is snacking, something that I always get out questions about, and it's quite hard to cover off the top of your head and only go over it in a few minutes because I think snacking is such a big topic because you have to understand, I think it's more psychology rather than, just saying, "I'll stop snacking," because if you're a human being, then it's not going to be that easy. So I think the most important thing, especially from a psychological side, is understanding why we snack. Okay. So some of the most common problems or some of the most common reasons, not problems, because you don't want to label things, especially when it comes to food. There's no good or bad foods, it's just food, right? And it's how we treat the food that then becomes bad or good. So why what some of the most common reasons for snacking? So first of all, so all of the kind of like the reasons why is going to be on the left hand side, and then all of the reasons to fix it is going to be on the right. Should probably do some color coding and stuff, but just not worth it. So the first one is not eating enough at meals. So 9 times out of 10, or maybe like 8 times out of 10, when there's a question on snacking, or if someone says that they snack too much, it's because they're trying to lose weight, right? Rarely is someone who's trying to bulk or trying to build loads of muscle saying, "Oh yeah, well, bro, I just snack too much, and that's why I'm not bulking." you know, Actually, you're not going to change it. Pretty much 9.9 times out of 10, it's because someone wants to lose weight, right? So when someone wants to lose weight, the first thing that people usually do is that they just completely cut out their meals and they just smash it. And then what happens is that they end up just eating nothing. So actually, by eating enough at meals, that's the one thing you shouldn't do because when you have your meals, 3 meals a day, 4 meals a day, if there's enough on that plate, then it's going to stop you from snacking. What you need to do is just manage how you slowly decrease those portion sizes over the few weeks, not just cutting maybe carbs out or, taking a whole portion of food away. It's a timeline of things. So usually people just stop eating. They might cut a meal out too quickly, and that can be really difficult on the body to be able to manage because we're used to X amount of food. When you take that away, the body's going to respond and you're going to be craving that thing. So one is that we're not eating enough at meals. Two, when we are having our meals, they're not balanced. So again, a really common one is cutting out carbohydrates, for example. And when we cut out carbohydrates, what are carbohydrates? Carbohydrates are energy, right? So when we're not replacing, let's say we've done a workout, let's say we've gone for a walk, and when we're not replacing that energy supply, our body's craving for carbs. Okay, because where else is it going to get it from? And then people go, "Oh yeah, well you go into ketosis and you start burning fat. Fat takes ages to burn, right? So your body is saying, I need energy now. Okay, so where's it going to go to? It's going to go to protein. It's going to start eating away at the muscle mass. That's what we don't want. So just get some carbs in you, okay? And by having that balanced meal, we're getting enough from the food to then just be able to regulate everything. There's nothing wrong with reduced carbs, by the way. Like I don't actually have any problem with reduced carbs. It's just when you cut carbs out completely, it's just not efficient. It's not optimal, and it always leads to the same thing. 6 months down the line, someone drops off. And if it works for you and you've stuck to it, then like that's good for you. Everyone's individuals, but most of the time people drop off, and it's about finding what works for you. Um, Emotional eating, when we're stressed, maybe we've had a long day at work, especially fats and things high in sugar, we crave that. So, um, there's lots of science behind that as well, that we naturally tend to go towards that fattier thing, the thing that's full of sugar, that sensation, that instant gratification of um the thing that we enjoy and the thing that we eat when we're feeling down. And there's many other ways to help cope with those things. But first of all, I just want to say it's good to be aware of that. Maybe when you're coming home, you had a bad day. It's good to be aware that actually, do you know what? You probably are going to go for that snack. And I think rather than trying to deal with the emotion, it's about let's accept the emotion. How are we going to deal around it when we're in a better place? And then finally, um, you know, who said snacking is even a bad thing, right? If you plan it and you allow yourself to snack, then let's just pick some good snacks. So then when you are doing it, you're not feeling so guilty. Okay. So they're like our four biggest reasons for snacking. So not eating enough at meals, not having a balanced meal when we are eating, when we're emotional, we've had a long day, or who even said that snacking was a bad thing. Let's just pick better options. So now let's go over on how can we combat some of these things? So first of all, just straight off the bat, just don't buy it. Like if you know that you love chocolate, if you know that you love biscuits, and you're on like a really dedicated weight loss plan and you need to hit a certain thing, just don't even put it in the shopping basket because you know it's going to be eaten. There's no managing, there's no halfway. Just don't get it. Okay. If you know you don't have that willpower, cool. Just admit it and just don't buy the thing. Right. I just want to throw that out there and just say that one. But, we wouldn't be asking this question on snacking if we knew that. Right. So now let's look at ways to actually try and help us apart from willpower. So high protein. Okay. And something I didn't type. Let me just. Why did that go super small? I'm so glad I got that on video. I have no idea why that happened. Right, so high protein, high fiber, which kind of links in with the carbs. So listen, I don't know how many times I have to say this. If you listen to any of these podcasts or watched any of these recordings, 30 grams of protein per meal, 20 to 30 grams of protein per meal is going to leave us satisfied for 4 to 6 hours. It's gonna help to make that stomach feel full for longer. So make sure that protein is in every single meal. We want carbohydrates, but particularly carbohydrates that are high in fiber. So what does that look like? Our fruits, our nuts, um, not refined carbohydrates like your rices and your pastas. Okay. Very raw carbohydrates that are going to have that fiber because fiber isn't digested like other carbohydrates. It's in the stomach for a lot longer. And again, it helps us to feel fuller for longer. And as always, we want a nice, healthy plate. So we need some fats in there as well. But again, if you're eating nuts, then that's kind of like that little hack. You've got some good protein, good carbs, and good fats. But just be aware as well, there's also a lot of calories. So you just have to manage these things. So this all comes down to a balanced plate, right? So not cutting out carbohydrates or not cutting out fats or not limiting a certain food group. Now, if you follow dietary reasons for other things, like maybe it's ethical and maybe it's religious, completely different conversation, right? But if we're just talking about general population and you're just trying to follow something for weight loss, then just don't cut the things out. We need a good balanced meal, and I promise you, once you have the carbohydrates for your energy, once you've got the protein for recovery and building muscle, and once you've got the good fats for our hormones, then trust me, life is so much easier. So make sure you've got a good balanced plate. And if you're struggling with that, then literally just go to the NHS, type in eat well plate or eat well guide, and it will literally show you a visual representation of what that looks like. So 20% carbs, 40%, um, sorry, 20% protein, 40% carbs, and then 40%, like as in carbs from like fruits and veg, and then like bits of fat as well. So they're just rough estimates thrown out there. But 20% protein, 30% carbs. Oh, long day. 20% protein, 30% fat, 50% carbs is where you kind of want to be though. So when you physically look at your plate or your meal or what you're eating, just think to yourself, is there protein? Is there vegetables, fruit and vegetables, and fruit or vegetables, whatever? And is there a carbohydrate? Is there an energy source? Once you've got all those things, you're good. Okay. So that's to put it into real time perspective. Literally, physically look at what you're eating. What's the carb? What's the? Because that's what I say. Like people always say, oh, like I had burger, it's terrible. Bro, just break it down. The patty, beef, hopefully, obviously it depends where you got it from, but we're talking about, an actual beef burger. Beef, protein, cool. Bun, bread, carbohydrates. Yeah, it's refined, but whatever. And then if you've got like a little side salad, all that, cool. Chips, potatoes, sometimes I think we overthink things. Don't be afraid of food. Just break it down. Think about what you're having. Is it in a good balance? And then, relax. We're not gonna die. Um, Eating regularly. I don't want to stay on this point forever because that could just be a whole different topic. Eat regularly. So another thing is when people try and lose weight or they're trying to achieve something, they like you become so sporadic with eating. Maybe you try and cut out breakfast. So then you get to lunch and then you just end up having lunch and breakfast all at once, and then maybe you're not hungry for dinner because you ate so much before, and then you wake up the next morning, you're starving, and you have breakfast, but then because you had so much breakfast, you're not having lunch, so you have dinner. Just stick to a nice, simple routine. If you're not a breakfast person, then that makes life so much easier. But if you're someone who does have breakfast, just have your breakfast, have your lunch, have your dinner. Cool. If you need like a lunch, then a snack in between lunch and dinner, do that. Just pick a routine and stick to it. Just get into the habit of eating at the same time every day or kind of within the hour of that time. So if you're at work and you have a lunch break, make sure that you're eating on that lunch break. And then when you get home from work, maybe whether it's before putting the kids to the bed, maybe it's after putting the kids to the bed, try and build up a routine so then you're always eating in this regular pattern. So then when you have that balanced meal and you're having it at the right time, you're not even questioning or you're not even thinking about snacks because you just know when that next meal is and you had enough from the previous meal to keep you going to the next. Water intake. Most of the time when we feel hungry, it's probably because we haven't had enough water. So what I always say is drink a glass of water, wait 30 minutes, then decide if you want a snack or then decide if you're hungry. Because most of the time it's probably because we haven't had enough water. And you just need to ask yourself, am I hungry? Drink some water. Oh, actually, I'm not that hungry anymore. Probably because the body was thirsty and you haven't been drinking water throughout the day. So if you do have a water bottle with you, make sure you're sipping on that throughout the day, or just every now and then, maybe when you get up, just drink some water. And a nice transition from that as well, tea or coffee. Caffeine can be an appetite suppressant. Doesn't mean that you're not going to snack if you have tea and coffee, of course. The downside to the tea and coffee is hand in hand. Usually, what happens is then people pick up a biscuit and then they want to dip the biscuit in the tea or coffee. That's the habit we want to break out of. But if you're able just to have the tea and coffee by itself, then yeah, caffeine is going to be an appetite suppressant. So that is going to help with that snacking, but also with that water intake. So a glass of tea or coffee is also going to help. A mug of tea and coffee is going to help with that, deciding whether you're thirsty or if you're hungry. By the way, no caffeine after 3 p.m. at least. We want some good sleep as well. Because that's another thing. Get to bed on time. Don't stay up late because when you stay up late, what happens? You probably end up snacking, right? So make sure you've got a good bed routine as well. And then a nice little hack, one that I've always loved is chewing gum. Such an easy way. Like if you're feeling a bit peckish, sometimes there is like this sensation sometimes, or like not sensation, but this urge just to chew on things. It's like it becomes a habit eating, right? So if you're able to distract the mind from that, just putting some chewing gum in your mouth, chewing away, it almost feels it's tricking the brain. It's like, okay, cool. Now we're doing this thing, right? Now we're chewing, we're eating. Okay. They are the gum was a big hack for me as well. So whenever you're feeling hungry, just chew some gum. You'll forget about feeling hungry. So just as a recap, because I know it's a lot to go over, and I know it can be, it's probably things that you've all heard before, but guys, it really is this simple. If you're snacking all the time, it's probably because you're not eating enough. It's probably because you're not having balanced meals. It's probably because you've had a shit day at work, and that's okay because maybe we want that instant gratification, or maybe we want that thing to make us happy. That's okay. You're allowed to have a shit day and you're allowed to respond to make yourself happier. But when you do, just have to make sure that the next up and coming days, you just rein it back a little bit. So then you can kind of, when the rainy days do come, it's okay because then you've kind of planned your other days around it to allow that to happen, you know? Um, it's about how we manage foods, not, you know, having a bad relationship with it. And then a poor choice of snacks. So what other snack could you be having? Rather than having milk chocolate, maybe have dark chocolate. Rather than having, like a high sugary yogurt, you have you have a Greek yogurt. That's another one of my hacks, like really high in protein, hardly any calories. Greek yogurt, amazing. Um, Rather than a biscuit, maybe some fruit, higher in fiber. Okay. Um, so it's what is the snack? Carrot sticks, cucumber sticks, tomatoes, all of these things. Veg is great as well because there's hardly any calories and you can have a lot of volume. So it feels like you've eaten loads and you feel full because you've had loads to eat, but there's very little impact. A lot of the time we're snacking on these foods that are really high in calories, but just don't fill the stomach. So of course you're going to keep on going back and back and back, and then before you know it, you've had like a day's worth of food from just a few chocolate bars, and that's it. It's out the window. That's okay if you do it. Okay, it's not game over. You're not going to die, but it's about how do we now rein this in and how can we come back from it? Okay, then that's another thing as well. Don't panic if that does happen. So yeah, how do we avoid it? Don't buy it. Make sure you're having high protein meals. Again, that's why Greek yogurt is one of my favorites. High in protein. Make sure you're having high fiber. Um, Things that are high in fiber as well. Go over to my carbohydrate um, video if you want to have a look at that. Eat more regularly. Eat to some sort of a schedule. Don't. It's not like this. Oh, look, my time has gone off. I need to eat a meal. Not like that, but roughly every 4 hours, every 6 hours, whatever. If it's around lunchtime, if it's after putting the kids to bed, or if it's after, pulling in from work and opening the door, making sure you get something to eat. Again, always, 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 this is a side note, always have something to eat before you go shopping as well. Because what happens is you're hungry, walking around the shopping, and what happens is you see these snacks and you see these things, you're like, oh, I could probably do with that now. Put it in a shopping basket, then you've got loads of them, then it happens throughout the week, all right? So make sure that's a easy life hack. Go have something to eat before you go shopping. Tea, coffee, cool, have that. Caffeine is an appetite suppressant, so that will definitely help during lunchtime or breakfast. Um, and then, make sure we go decaf if you do want one later on. I know it's the caffeine that's the appetite suppressant, but just that sensation of a tea or coffee alongside the water intake. So make sure you're drinking a glass of water, wait 15 to 30 minutes, and then decide if you're still hungry. And chewing gum, always have chewing gum on you because whenever you're feeling hungry or you want a snack or you want to chew something, then chewing gum is there for you. So this is my little summary on snacking. Hopefully this has helped you. For anyone that's listening inside the group chat, if you have any questions, then make sure you drop it in the chat. Let's have a conversation about it, or message me privately. If you've tried all these things, it's still not working, then message me and we can think of an action plan for you. If you listen to us on YouTube, then leave a comment down below. Did this help you with your snacking? Is there anything here that you've tried before? Is there anything that you've done that's really successful and I haven't mentioned? Pop it down in the comments below. I'd love to know what other tips and topics that you guys have to add to this. And if you're listening on the podcast, then hopefully some of these things helped. So, anyways, I'm gonna wrap this one up. Tuesday Q&A, more of like a snacking one today because just all get so much volume on snacking that I thought it'd be beneficial to cover. And I hope you enjoyed this one. I will see you in the next episode.